So how do you go about getting your styles into an external style sheet and then attaching them to the page? Dreamweaver makes the process pretty seamless and gives you a tremendous amount of flexibility and control. Whenever you create a new rule, Dreamweaver gives you the option of where to place those rules. You can place them in a new style sheet, which will then prompt you to create a new one, place the rule in an existing style sheet if you already have one attached, or simply embed the rule in the current page, which would restrict it to only the current document. In this movie, we'll start by attaching an existing style sheet to our page, and then experiment with ways to move a rule from one style sheet to another. So I have the index page from the 0612 folder open up, and it looks unstyled except for one thing. This headline, Explore Our World Your Way, looks like it's been styled. And if I look over at the CSS Styles panel, indeed I can see that I have a rule, pound main content space H1. This is an embedded style. I know that because instead of the name of the external style sheet, I just have that style tag right there. I can also look in my source code. If I scroll up, there's my embedded style right in the head of the document. Okay, cool. So how do we create external style sheets? Well, one of the easiest ways to do it is just in the normal process of creating your CSS. So let's say we were going to create an overall rule for our body tag. If I come over here to the CSS Styles panel and I choose New CSS Rule, and I do Tag and I choose Body, notice that one of my options is to do a new style sheet file. So if I choose New Style Sheet File and click OK, instead of bringing up the CSS Rule Definition dialog box, what I get is something prompting me to save a brand new style sheet. So here I could browse to where I wanted to put it, give it a name, and I would click OK or Save. Now what that's going to do for me is it would create a brand new external style sheet, it would link it to this page, and it would place the new rule inside that style sheet, and it would do it all in one step. So that's pretty cool. Now, we happen to have an existing external style sheet that we need to use, so we don't really need to do this step, so I'm just going to select Cancel, and we'll go back to our page the way it was. Okay, so if I look over at the CSS Styles panel, another option that I have is this little link option, and it's right beside the new CSS rule icon. If you hover over it, you'll get a little tooltip that comes up that tells you that that is Attach Style Sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and that brings up a dialog box that says, okay, you want to attach an external style sheet. Where can I find this? So I'm going to go ahead and select Browse. So I'm going to browse inside my 0612 folder. I'm going to find my CSS folder, open that up, and I want to link to this main.css. I'm going to click OK there. I'm going to bring it in and add it as a link. I've got two choices there, link and import. Import brings it in using @import, which was great for really old browsers that we don't use anymore, or as a way of creating more modular style sheets. The more common means of doing this is with link, and that's what we're going to do. We're also able to choose a media type here, and I find this pretty interesting. You have a pull-down menu, and you can choose between all these different media types. Now, since we're going to be doing this for our web browser, we're going to use the screen media type, but I'm also going to type in comma projection. So you can actually string multiple media types together if you'd like. These styles will apply to any device that requests for the screen media type or the projection media type. I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and it attaches our style sheet. Now, I noticed a problem just by looking over at my CSS Styles panel. The CSS Styles panel gives us a lot of information that you might not really understand unless you're paying attention to it. Notice, for example, the style tag is on top of the main.css. That means that our embedded styles are literally on top of the external style sheet. You're probably saying to yourself, yeah, so what? Well, those styles are applied in the order that they're found. So if your external styles are found prior to your embedded styles, that means that the external styles are actually going to overwrite the embedded styles if those two don't agree with each other. That would be a problem. So we're going to need to move those around a little bit. Now, I do want you to pay attention to what happened to our page. We went from this sort of bland, ugly, just sort of text to a fairly nice layout. And all that happened just by attaching that external style sheet. Now, if I go over to the code view of my page, you can see why our main.css is listing under style. Now, this is one of the things that I wish they would change in Dreamweaver. I love the program, but occasionally there are some things that you're like, I really wish it did a different way. We really ought to have the option of choosing where within the head to place that link tag, but we don't. So one of the things you might want to do, create a blank line above your embedded styles. You can grab that link tag and just drag it up so that it's actually above the embedded styles. That is how you want that. You want any external styles to come first in your code, and then your embedded styles to come after that. So take a moment or two to do that in code view. Just be really careful about doing it. Make sure you're not leaving behind any of the tags. Make sure you're not replacing any of the existing tags. I'm going to switch back to design view, save my file. And now if I look over my CSS styles panel, there are my external styles. There are my embedded styles. Now, what happens if you decide that you want an embedded style to literally become something that is global throughout your site? It's not uncommon, for example, let's say you have a site with 100 pages on it, and you just want to test something locally on a page before committing it to your entire site. So maybe you write an embedded style or two, kind of play around with it on that page, and then suddenly somebody might say, or you might even say yourself, you know what, that really ought to look that way across the entire site. Well, does that mean you have to rewrite those selectors? Absolutely not. You can move selectors from one style sheet to another. Let me show you how to do that. I'm going to go ahead and collapse the files panel by double clicking that. Again, that's just going to give me a little bit more room, and I can even grab this divider, move it down a little bit so that I can see these styles a little better. Now there's a lot going on here, but you can kind of see the way that these selectors are arranged. We have our main content selectors, our base navigation selectors, so they're all sort of grouped together. Honestly, the pound main content H1 that we've got would probably fit right around this area, so it'd be kind of nice if it was there. All right, so how can we do that? Well, I'm going to scroll down, grab this main content H1, literally just hold my mouse down on it and drag. And I'm just going to scroll up without letting go of the mouse until I find, I'm not quite there yet, that main content space P selector that I was talking about. There we go. So I would like it to appear either right above or right below that. So I'm just going to drag it to right above that. I'm going to let go. There it is. So I've moved it to my external style sheet, placed it exactly where I wanted it in that style sheet in terms of organization, and moved it away from my embedded style. So you can see the embedded styles are now empty. The rule has physically been removed from our page and placed in that external style sheet. I can collapse the external style sheet, select my now empty and unused embedded style tag, and when I have that selected and focused on, I can click the trash can to go ahead and delete that from our code. So now the only thing that we have on our page is our external style sheets. Pretty cool. So as you can see, creating new style sheets, attaching them to your pages, and moving styles from one style sheet to another is extremely easy in Dreamweaver. The power of the CSS Styles panel makes it simple to deploy your styles across your site exactly as your site strategy dictates.